Wholeness, high vibrations, and greatness. What up, everyone? What up? What up? What up? Welcome here to today's show. Welcome to today's episode. I am so excited to have you here joining us on today's episode with our very, very special guest. Now, you know how I like to do it. I like to come with the energy. I like to come with the goods, and I like to come with the value. And my guest today, she has all of that and more. She's a superwoman. I want to introduce to you Miss Teresa Oliver. She's the owner of Millennial Bookkeeping and Advisory Services. And this is a firm that builds your business systems on an accounting foundation. This is really important. She's a superwoman. She's a real deal. She's awesome. She makes things happen out of thin air. And you can actually ask her how her firm can increase your bottom line without making another sale. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to introduce Miss Teresa Oliver.
Yes, thank you so much. That was such an awesome introduction. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. And I'm looking forward to talking with you, having this conversation and, reaching your audience.
Right on. No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come join us and share some goods with us today. So I know my audience is like, Mike, who is this? Like, who is Superwoman? Like, what are you bringing Superwoman onto the show for? So look, everybody's like chomping at the bit to learn more about you and your story. So if you could just share with us your story and a little bit more about you and what you do with your actual firm.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Teresa Oliver, and I own Millennial Bookkeeping and Advisory Services, but that's not my story, right? The story begins a long, long time ago in the Bronx, New York, the boogie down Bronx. And life has made me strong and a leader. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I have 4 brothers. Yeah.
Oh.
Oldest of 5. I have 4 younger brothers. And if you know anything about men, yeah. So they've taught me how to be a leader, and as a woman, how to be a leader and a role model for young Black men coming up through the 80s and 90s. So in Boogie Down Bronx, New York. So I think I have to thank my brothers and my parents, of course, for giving me that first opportunity to lead, and to really just hone in my leadership skills and just, adapting and things like that and taking care of tough situations or handling tough situations. So anyway, let's fast all the way forward to college. I originally wanted to be a pediatrician. I was a sick child growing up, and so I spent a lot of my time in the hospital. And I saw what the doctors did. I mean, I was a recipient of what the doctors and nurses did. And I was so moved by their passion, their compassion, their kindness, and their gentleness. And, again, as a sick child, my mom had to leave me in the hospital by myself sometimes, and I was young. And the nurses and doctors just loved on me, and you would have thought that I was their child. And, for my mom to feel comfortable leaving me to go to work with these medical professionals, that said a lot about who they were. So anyway, it was like, and this is in the Bronx. So, the sense of community and just taking care of their own. And so I said, well, I want to be able to give that to other people. I want to, provide children with, this compassion and this love and this kindness and also this healing. Because, they made me feel better. And that was like, when you feel 100%, when you weren't feeling 100%, that's like the best feeling in the world. So anyway, when I started college, I went on the pre-med track. And so a lot of math, a lot of science, and 9/11 happened. And I really just kind of got thrown off. It really just kind of like shook me up. And so we was out of, school for a little while. And when I went back, the energy just wasn't there. And I think it was, even when I started, it wasn't there. And I started at a community college, by the way. So just so people know, I like to tell people that, it doesn't matter, how you start, is how you finish. And so just because, right. So just because I started in a community college, I did that because life has a way of, messing up your plans. So, I wanted to go to a HBCU and, I wanted to go to the top schools. But life changed that. My brother passed away when I was in 10th grade, finishing out 10th grade into the 11th grade. And so, that just dealt, our family a blow. And so we had to deal with it. So anyway, I made adjustments. I adapted, right? As we should in life, right? You have to pivot and make adaptations so that you can still get to your goal. So that's what I did. Anyway, pre-med wasn't working out for me. I was no longer interested. I had no energy for it. And so I stopped going to school. And so I started working. And then my mom, being who she is, the awesome and amazing woman that she is, she reached out to me and was like, we're not doing this. You will graduate from college. So what do you want to do? Let's go. And my mom filled out all of the paperwork, the applications, and she, she was like, I remember it so clearly. We used to talk on the payphones, right? I'm dating myself. We used to talk on the payphones to go through all of this stuff or whatever, and get all this information and everything together. And I remember just standing outside, whether I was freezing or if I was burning up, on the corner in the dark, just on the payphone. Trying to get all of this stuff together. But my mother, she was not letting it go. She was on it. And so she got me, my second passion was fashion design. And so she got me into a fashion design school in California. And so I went there, and although I loved it and I loved the fashion design and I made some awesome, incredible friends that I still have to this day. That experience really just changed my life. But after about 9 months, a couple of semesters, I left there too. Came back to the Bronx, was on my grandmother's couch. And I just, I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. And I'm taking you through this journey and through this story because it matters. Because, all too often we think that, you just arrive, and that there's not bumps in the road. There definitely is bumps in the road. And I've encountered them, and I'm sure that you have, so on my grandmother's couch, my grandmother is like, what are you going to do? Right. Let me tell you something. My family, I'm so grateful for my family. And we're not perfect, but support and love and encouragement, it's definitely there. And one thing I'll say is, whether it's your blood family or your chosen family, get people around you that love you and support you for who you are. It's one thing when people encourage you and they have their own mission that they're encouraging you on, or when they're encouraging you based off of your heart and who you are and pushing you towards your goals and not anything else, right? Not their own, oh, you should do this, you should do that. No, this is what you want. Do it. You know what I mean? And encourage you in that way. And so that's how my family was. And so anyway, I'm going to shorten this story. I ended up going to another community college for liberal. I thought I was going to be like a teacher or something. Yeah, I had no idea. That's where I took like all of my languages and stuff. I took French and Italian. That was an awesome experience. I met some great people there as well. And then after that, I think I went back to fashion design school. I went to FIT, stopped that, and I stopped fashion completely because I did not want my creativity to be forced. I didn't want to be forced to create a collection or things like that under pressure, right? I just wanted it to be free. So that was more about, aligning with myself and knowing what I can and cannot do. Then I went to University of Phoenix for business administration. And then I found myself in Baltimore, Maryland. I have a lot of family there. And I went to University of Baltimore and I took finance. And so I had a bunch of credits at this time, right? And so it really was, I just needed to take my major classes. So I took finance because I figured, hey, I'll just be like one of those people on Wall Street, right? Making money and, making money moves and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So because I was like ready to just jump into all of my major classes, accounting 101 was a class that I had to take as part of the major fulfillment. I walked into that class one person and walked out completely transformed. And yeah, after my first class, I went back to my guidance counselor and I said, change my major immediately. I'm taking accounting.
Whoa.
It was that strong. You know what I mean? The attraction, the alignment, the energy, the synergy was that strong. And, you know, of course, I can give praise and honor to my professor who used to dance in the classroom. And I mean, you know, that just like, that kind of like mirrored how I felt about it upon encountering it. Like, I was completely blown away. It made absolute sense. It was like, what? You give and you receive, right? You give, you like, it was like in, out. It just made logical sense. The puzzle felt like, oh yes, this is it. It just, everything made sense. And since then, I have been on the journey to be the best accountant that I can be. And I knew immediately that I wanted to go the consulting route, which is why I built my firm the way that I have, because it's the technical application of accounting evades a lot of people, right? And you really have to have a passion and a love for it and an understanding, a deep understanding to do it successfully. But the consulting part of accounting, where businesses understand that accounting is the foundation of your business, right? Like nothing happens that doesn't affect your books, that doesn't affect your bottom line. Everything that you do in this conversation, okay, let's talk about this conversation, that microphone, the internet, the computer, you know, the emails that went back and forth, every single thing, even though it's marketing, it's communication, it's client communication, all of that hits your bottom line. Now, whether it increases it or decreases it is up to how you've built the system, right? So, and that's how I got here where I am. And well, that's how I got to accounting. I worked in corporate, nonprofit, for government for a long time. And I got my feet wet there in those industries. And I realized something that, which is, again, the basis for my firm. People put too much red tape on making changes that benefit them. And they would rather not make those changes and continue in their archaic ways simply because they're used to it. They say if it's not broke, don't fix it, but it is absolutely broke because it's absolutely costing them money. Now, those were big businesses, very different from small businesses, and where I was very vocal about making these changes that I came across. The business did not want to make those changes. And they did have the money, the cash capital, and the revenue to not make those changes. Now, it's not affecting them today, and it may not affect them in 5 years, but it will affect them in 10 years. But the same thing for small businesses does not apply, meaning you don't have that stretch of time because you don't have that cash capital or that revenue to support a delay in a decision that's going to change your future, right? And so that's where I came in and I built my business to make sure that small businesses were aware of, number one, where they are, where they're going, and the road to get there, right? And making sure that during that whole journey, they can pivot as much or as little as they need to keep their business going forward. That's my goal. My mission in my firm is to provide that advisory service to small businesses. And then the technical side, we can talk about that, but I'm probably going to lose you.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Wow, how about that? What a powerful story. Like, wow, you know, so much. I respect that. You know, I respect your journey. I respect what you've gone through. I mean, you know, the like if we go to the beginning, look, you had 4 younger brothers. You were the older sister. So like you had to be forward tough. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's I got a little sister and she's so tough. Like she's so tough because I'm like, nah. You got 3 brothers and is you the only girl? Nope, you're not about to. So I respect it, for that part first. But it's just amazing the journey of like all of the places you had to go through. You thought you were gonna go here, you thought you're gonna be a fashion designer, you thought you're gonna be creating the next big fashion brand, and then boom, one class in this new school and in this finance space, and you made a decision to change. Like you completely pivoted your entire life on that from that one class, and that one pivot has led to you having this thriving business and this thriving career that you're having. Like that's incredible, yeah. And I just want to address it because I think for our audience who's listening, there's a lot of gems that can be gained in your story. But it's like the one thing which you mentioned about small businesses and how you help them is the same thing that you did in your life to help yourself, make it a pivot with something that aligns. And that, that's huge. I mean, can you just talk a little bit about that point? Because I think that's some gold right there, is about the importance of being able to pivot and make a decision that can benefit your future, whether it's 10 minutes from now, 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, or like you mentioned, 10 years. Can you talk a little bit about like the importance of pivoting before we go to the other parts of your story?
Absolutely. So I didn't know this like in actuality until recently. I have a coach that helps me, align and put things together, right? But throughout my entire life, I never gave up. And I knew who I was at my core, whether or not I tapped into it on a more intellectual level. I knew who I was at my core. And I knew what felt good and what did not feel good, right? And through trial and error, literally trial and error, I knew when something was right, it was right, right? And so, my center, is God. I believe in God. And so that's my center. And so I have a relationship with him.